When Chomsky said the United States government is the largest terrorist force in the world, he was not exaggerating. This was not a joke. Now, obviously, it's difficult to convince people who believe in liberalism or who believe in, the great glory of the US Constitution. But let's take the US Constitution for a minute. The US Constitution. If any human being who lives in the United States believes that the values of the United States are the values of the Constitution, you've lost your mind.
I'm still trying to sample some opinions from great minds concerning the democratic system that has been imposed by Western countries. I've come across a video from Vijay Prashad. He has shared his opinion, very interesting opinion concerning these democratic systems that has been imposed by Western countries. I want us to watch this particular video. I will be back.
Thomas Friedman has made it an entire career of lecturing people about democracy. Like, man, your own democracy is useless. You don't have a democracy. You have some sort of strange oligarchic system with an anachronistic electoral college. And you're then telling other people how they should run their political system. For God's sake. I mean, Bush versus Gore. The Supreme Court decided the election, not even the population. I mean, and yet you're so the book was written to inform people about the fabric of how US imperialism operates. It's interesting, I know in the last 10 odd years, people have been going around saying, well, there's not one imperialism, there are multiple imperialisms. And I always think, really, we did some calculations. 75% of world military spending is spent by the United States, its NATO allies, and its NATO partners. 75%. The Chinese spend under 10% of world military spending, just under 10%. The Russians, 4% of world military spending. You add the Russians and Chinese up, it's 14%. That's 1-4, 14%. 14%, and then not even in a military alliance. They have a strategic alliance. Whereas NATO is a real military alliance, a genuine threat to the world. When Chomsky said the United States government is the largest terrorist force in the world, he was not exaggerating. This was not a joke. Now, obviously, it's difficult to convince people who believe in liberalism or who believe in, the great glory of the US Constitution. But let's take the US Constitution for a minute. The US Constitution. If any human being who lives in the United States believes that the values of the United States are the values of the Constitution, you've lost your mind. The values of a country are not the values of its Constitution, but the values of its budget. And the United States spends more than half its budget on the military. That's the values of the United States. That's an imperialist budget. Do you really need 900 military bases around the world? Do you really have to interfere in every single election in countries that you don't like? I mean, is it really necessary? What did the United States get out of the war in Afghanistan? At the end, they got the Taliban back. What did the United States get from trying to overthrow the Syrian government? Nothing. The government is still standing. What did the United States get for overthrowing Saddam Hussein in Iraq? And I'm not saying he's a great guy, but what did the United States get? It got a strengthened Iran, and it got a strengthened Afghanistan. The Taliban was thrilled that the Saddam was overthrown. The United States, in fact, gave a gift to Iran between 2001, 2003. It got rid of its two adversaries, the Taliban and Saddam Hussein. I mean, what does US intervention get? It often gets the exact opposite of what the great leaders in Washington say. So this book was effectively written to show people the granular nature.
When we talk of democratic system, I think most of the Western countries don't even come close to these systems they are imposing on other countries. US is not practicing democratic system. US don't even believe in democratic systems. Even for them, if they vote, they go on the ballots and select a leader, they still have to go to the electoral college before they can select a leader for them. Their systems is not aligned with what they preach to other African countries or other countries. US somehow don't even practice democratic systems because I was told democracy is for the people, by the people. But what they practice is not really for the people. What they practice is someone who they can decide to put, the electoral college can decide to not to select the person who got the majority of their vote. Maybe I may be wrong. I really understand their system. But some few elections have followed from US. I've always been told that the leader, after the polls, they will go back to electoral college for the electoral college to decide who to become the leader. It's an interesting system. And we all know that most Western countries don't even believe in democracy. They don't believe in whatever they are preaching. They are imposing these systems on other countries so they can manipulate us. Like where we come from in Africa. Those who are practicing democratic systems are the countries that are more underdeveloped because it gives rooms for outside powers or foreign powers to manipulate your systems. That is what we have been experiencing for decades, for centuries. The democratic systems we are practicing gives chance to Western countries to manipulate our systems because now, if any country is about to go to elections, what they do is they have political parties that select their leaders. And what we have realized is these political parties, every country have two strong political parties. And whenever they want to select a leader, they have to go and do primaries. And that primaries, how do they select their leaders? They will select these candidates. And these candidates will go and compete among themselves. But do you know something? Do you know the one who is financially strong always win the elections? The one who have more money always win the elections. And what does that tell you? They bribe their way in and they become the leader of their political parties. And at the end of the day, they also come and compete with another corrupt person and we select one. So we don't even have options to select someone who is capable of doing the work. We are always selecting the one who can bribe his way in. And do you think if they are able to bribe their way in to power, what is going to happen? They have to get all their money within a short time. So within that 4 years, they are about to rule us. They have to make sure they still enough money to be able to compensate the money that they spent during their primaries. And most of the times, where do they get their money to bribe their way in? They get their monies from Western countries and Western organizations that sponsor them and later tell them that if you come to power, we want these resources, we want this mineral resources, we want this, we want this. They demand things that will help the country develop. They will come for it, and at the end of the day, your country is going nowhere because all your resources will be given to those who sponsored you to come to power. And that is what democracy is doing to Africa. They have no options. If you talk, you are going to be eliminated because these people have set their military base in most of African countries and they are even training coup leaders. So anytime you go against their rules, you go against their agreement they went with you, if you go against it, they will start tagging you as a dictator. My dear friends, Africans, anytime you find a leader being praised on Western media, anytime you find a leader being hailed on Western media, then you should know that there is something wrong with him. He's giving something for free. He's giving something which his country is not benefiting from it. We are learning. We are liberating our mind. We are becoming wise. We are not moving like how we used to move. We are taking our steps very carefully. That is why we have set up channels like mine to educate the people, to enlighten the people what is going on underground. Yes, our leaders are corrupt, but why are they corrupt? They are corrupt because they has been given money to be in power so that they can be puppets for the Western countries. That is why you'll be hearing news like, oh, Ghana has found, or Ghana has discovered lithium, and the company that is coming to retract this lithium will be taking like 90%, and Ghana will only gain 10%. These companies were the ones who sponsored this particular leader to come to power. So it's about time he also have to come and make his profit from the country or from the money he gave to that particular leader to do the campaign. That is what is happening in Africa. Please, if you want to liberate your mind, if you want to enlighten yourself about what is happening around the world, politically, especially how we are being manipulated in Africa, then join my Telegram group by going to the description box, click on the link. It will take you to the platform. Don't forget, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification button so that anytime I upload any great content, you will be notified. I want you to join the Telegram group because we are there planning about how we can help develop the continent Africa, and also how to link with our Africans in diaspora for us to develop this continent. I'm always your guy, De-Graft Amoako. Thanks for watching.